So this wasn't a topic that I really intended on speaking on just yet because it's fairly new news and we only really know one side of the story, but after giving it some thought and because it doesn't involve one of my favorite rappers, I think it's appropriate to at least mention it. So if you haven't seen the title of this video or read the complex article regarding it, Egon, the former general manager of Stone's Throw, the label that's mostly known for independent artists, not strictly rap, but independent artists in general. Also, the label that put out one of my favorite albums of all time, Mad Villainy. Egon is in possession of some rhyme books, some handwritten rhyme books from MF Doom. And he's in possession of these illegally or wrongfully, as according to MF Doom's wife. In a statement released to Complex, she had said, "We can confirm Egon is illegally in possession of rhyme books owned by MF Doom. There have been many unsuccessful attempts to get these back prior to Doom's passing. We had hoped after Doom transitioned, Egon would do the right thing and return the books to the family, but he has continued to ignore these requests. Unfortunately, Egon is not the only former associate abusing the likeness, art, and life's work of Doom. More will be said at the appropriate time." Now, first things first, how did he get these books? No clue. If it was somewhere in writing that, yes, these are his now, sure, that's one thing. But because apparently they've been trying to get these books back for years, even before Doom's passing, which was back in 2020, he must have had these for a while. He must have had them since Mad Villainy times, so like 2004 maybe, maybe a little bit later. But it's not like they just got them. Like it's not like he just oh yeah, I'm gonna take these. Like he's been in possession of these for a while, and it's so strange, because on like looking outside, looking in, you see that Egon and Doom probably had a decent relationship, or at least you can assume that they did, because Doom officiated Egon's wedding. Like you wouldn't do that for someone who you don't like at all. Like you have to care about them a little bit to do that. So it's a little strange. And then the other thing is like, why has no one else really spoken out about this? So related to that, speaking out about Egon and stuff, last week Talib Kweli went on a bit of a tirade, you could say, where he had screenshotted a bunch of stuff and posted on Instagram. I'll probably link that down below, but the caption says, "One day the hip-hop community is going to have to discuss what a lying, stealing, conniving culture vulture, Egon, from Now Again Records is. This is a non-black person who routinely takes advantage of black artists and brags about it." And then he has a few bullet points. "We need to discuss how he tried to take advantage of Jade Dilla's mom. We need to discuss how he desperately tried to block the Black Star album, like the Black Star 2 album, from coming out unless Talib paid him $500,000, which, he clearly didn't have to, because it's out on Luminary and Bandcamp. But also, we need to discuss how he uses money he steals from iconic hip-hop artists to buy up catalogs of unsuspecting older black artists and then hoards the music so that he can decide what gets sampled and what doesn't, depending on how much money he personally makes off of music he doesn't create. He plays no instruments, he writes no rhymes, he sings no songs, he makes no beats, but he brags to me about how he has a $3 million house with money stashed in the walls during negotiations for the artists he used to work with. But today, all I want to know is why Egon stole MF Doom's rhyme book and refuses to give it back to Doom's family, even after MF Doom passed away. MF Doom officiated this man's wedding for free, but then later stopped rocking with him because of his devil ways." And then he said somebody tag him because Talib got blocked by him. Now, all that in mind, Egon doesn't sound like a great person now, does he? On paper, like if you know almost nothing about him, you would assume that, oh yeah, he's doing okay. Like he's not that bad of a person. Madlib still hangs out with him, but that's the thing. Like we don't see all this. So for someone who has worked with him to point out specific things, and I mean, to be fair, these are things that probably have been mentioned for a while now, because in one of the slides that he had posted on Instagram, it was basically a string of tweets from someone saying like, I can't believe Egon's getting away with this. Like, how is he like delaying the Black Star album and so on and so forth? Which, you know, if that is the case, like, that's kind of fucked. The only reason I can think that he would have any say is because of Madlib, who produced the project. Now, with all that said, if all these things are true, why is someone like Madlib still working with him? Like, there has to be something else going on, right? Because it doesn't seem right that someone like Madlib, someone who is so invested in the culture, someone who is a proper musician, you could say, like someone who loves the art, like, why would he rock with him so hard? Like, that's what's throwing me off. The other thing that threw me off, like when I was reading Talib's caption, was that, yeah, Now Again Records is essentially going to be re-releasing a bunch of these old vinyls or records, and you know they're going to be marked up more because they're a re-release, and he owns everything for it, allegedly. So that's one of the big issues. But going back to the main topic at hand, why does he have these rhyme books? And where did he get them from, and why is he refusing to give them back? Like, I understand buying masters and such from other artists and then re-releasing them. It's not a great look, but it is, at least that's legitimate. Like, you are doing it. Like, but in this case, he just has the rhyme books and he's refusing to give them back for whatever reason. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And in one of the slides on Talib's post, like, it's an email from Egon where he's basically just saying like, I'm done dealing with you. Like, I don't want to, like, it's so weird. It's like, you are someone who is involved with this project due to Madlib and Rap Cats. And because you're kind of involved, you're just making it difficult, which is not great, obviously. But, you know, going back to the whole Doom thing, like, why has no one else said anything? Why is Talib the first person to say this? I mean, again, I have not looked into what Egon is doing just in general, because I don't really care about the guy. Like, he doesn't really exist to me. Like, he's not always at the forefront of my mind. But when you have someone like Talib saying these things, you know, you gotta pay a little bit of attention. Like, of course, a lot of people have their own thoughts and feelings about Talib, but generally when it comes to these sorts of things, like, he's pretty in the right. Like, this, like, assuming everything he said here is true, like, that's not a good look in general. Like, Egon is, yeah, he's, like Talib said, just profiting off of black artists and doing basically none of the work other than buying it, which is, you know, at the end of the day, one of the easier things you could do. But yeah, it's just, it blows my mind. I don't understand why this is the case and why it's happening like this. The other thing that I wanted to point out before I forget, though, is the end of that statement, where they say, unfortunately, Egon is not the only former associate abusing the likeness, art, and life's work of Doom. More will be said at the appropriate time. Which now raises the question, who else is involved in basically profiting off of Doom? Now, sure, you could say that I am as well because I'm making this video, I'm going to get monetized, whatever. But, I mean, that's pennies compared to something bigger, you know? Like, if you have other artists who have worked with Doom, who are putting songs out, like, after the fact, or after his passing, you know, you have to kind of think about where, like, did they get approval? Like, did they reach out to the family? That sort of thing. I think the most recent example I can think of is from Black Thought's album, where he has the track Belize with MF Doom. Now, this one is, in my mind, okay, it's legit, because Doom and Danger Mouse had recorded his verse years ago, and he had always wanted Black Thought on it, and that was kind of the plan. So he's like, you know what? I have this Doom verse that Doom wanted you to be on anyways. Let's do it. So that, in my mind, makes more sense. And as well as I want to assume everything else that has come out since his passing, such as the Czarface tapes and actually I think that might be the only one like full album. But like that is one thing. The other thing to I guess think about is everyone's selling merch. Everyone just sells things that are labeled with MF Doom's likeness or just something related to him. None of these people are going to be giving money to Doom's family. Like, they're not getting any cut of this. So, that's another thing to think about. Like, you are using this man's likeness. I mean, yes, he was a public figure to some extent. I mean, a lot of people will recognize Doom. But, he, even though he was a public figure to some extent, that doesn't mean you can go and start just doing wild things. Like, Doom is in a position, or was in a position, where I think they were okay. Like, they were well off enough, even though Doom hadn't really put out a whole lot of music or done much production recently. But, I'm sure they were, or I would like to think they were okay. If that is not the case, then definitely, like, y'all need to show some respect, sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I can keep going on just kind of questioning why this is the case. Like, but at the end of the day, like, you really don't know people. Like, again, outside looking in, Doom and Egon seemed like really cool. They were friends. Like, they were chill with each other. I mean, why else would you have someone officiate your wedding? That, like, that doesn't make any sense. Doom wouldn't officiate your wedding if he didn't like you. Like, at least in my mind, that's how I would think or look at it. But yeah, it's just so strange, and it's shitty because capitalism, and that's just how shit works. But I mean, that's one thing though. Like, if he had owned these rhyme books, or if he owned like certain masters, which I think Stone's Throw may for Mad Villainy at least, like, that's one thing. But for him to just take a rhyme book and then who knows what he's going to do with it? Is he going to pull some bullshit and do NFTs with it? Who knows? Maybe. I really hope that's not the case. I hope that we can get those rhyme books back to Doom's family. Like, it doesn't make sense. And this is something I feel that gets brought up a lot of times whenever people pass away. Like, all these songs or verses that come out after they pass, how many of them are done in a way that makes sense? For example, with Juice WRLD, like the recent track with DJ Khaled, that one I'm assuming was good because that was recorded before his passing, and Khaled just held on to it for a little bit. The other thing is, like, with Nipsey Hussle, like, there's only a handful of verses out there that have, like, since his passing, like, and I assume those verses again are verses that were recorded before his passing or verses that were okayed. I don't want to get something like they're doing with XXX Tentacion, where they're just throwing verses together and like making an album. And that's kind of my concern. And especially with this whole AI rapper bullshit, like, what if someone's just, or Egon specifically, is like, you know what, I'm gonna make an AI that sounds like Doom or close enough to Doom and just have it read off these lyrics. Like, that's worrying. I don't know though. That's enough rambling from me. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, because I'm not a fan of this. I, for one, would rather just be a decent person. Give the rhyme books back. But let me know what y'all think. Also, like and subscribe if you want to see more ramblings like this. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.